Particularly happy when Catherine Ashton, in recognition of the importance and the sensitivity of the crisis in Camp Ashraf, appointed Jean De Ruyt as a diplomat of considerable experience and high reputation with the specific authority to try to negotiate some sort of way through this crisis in Ashraf. When we put this item on the agenda, last week I received from the Embassy of the Republic of Iraq a letter telling me that they were enclosing a document purporting to represent the current view of the Iraqi government on Camp Ashraf. The document, which has been circulated to all of you, goes on to classify the 3,400 residents of Ashraf as terrorists, to say that they are not entitled to refugee status, to deny that they fall under the Geneva Conventions and therefore are under any sort of protection in international law, to reaffirm that they intend to close the camp by the end of this year, and basically to say that as terrorists they are not welcome on the territory of Iraq under the Iraqi constitution. This, to me, is tantamount to a declaration of war on what we have been standing for in this European Parliament, based on our European value system, saying that we demanded these people should be dealt with in a humanitarian way. We were asking that the deadline for clearing the camp by the end of this year should be rescinded to give the UNHCR time to conduct the necessary interview process in order that all of these people can be registered as refugees. Mr. Guterres, the High Commissioner for Refugees, the High Commissioner for Human Rights in Geneva, when I met him in August this year, said to me that he would put all of his resources into conducting the interviews with the individual members of Ashraf in order that they could try to meet the deadline that the Iraqi government had set, and in order that once registered as refugees, we could attempt to evacuate these people to the 27 member states and to other countries like Norway, Canada, where they have previous connections. To this date, not a single interview has taken place, because the Iraqi government have repeatedly put obstacles in the way, blocking the interview process, saying initially that they did not want the interview process to take place in Ashraf, then they did not want it to take place in locations identified by UNAMI outside Ashraf, and they have repeatedly put obstacles in the way and blocked the interview process. And now that we are within 1 month of the deadline being reached, they have issued this ultimatum, which is tantamount to a death warrant for these people, because if they are not, according to this document, welcome on the territory of Iraq, where will they be sent to? We understand that they intend to move them to various locations inside Iraq. While they have been very specific about what they want to do in emptying the camp, they have not been specific about where they will be taken. All of this under the auspices of guarantees from the Iraqi government that these people will be treated in a humanitarian way. And the disgraceful lie in this document that says they have up until now been treated in a humanitarian way in line with international law, when in fact they have been under constant psychological torture with 300 loudspeakers. It says in this document that the Iraqi authorities have allowed supplies such as food, medicine and healthcare into Ashraf. Of course, people have died because of a lack of medical facilities. They have been denied access to proper medical care. The unfortunate situation, I have to say, ladies and gentlemen, is that the UNAMI ambassador in Baghdad, Martin Kobler, appears now to have accepted the inevitability of this situation, almost like a rabbit caught in the headlights. And for all these assertions from the Iraqi government that these people will be treated humanely, you only have to look at the guarantee they gave to the Americans 6 hours before they invaded Ashraf on the 8th of April, when the Americans said, we are concerned at the military build-up around the camp and we want a guarantee there will be no violence. And they received an absolute written guarantee from the Iraqi government, there will be no violence, these people will be treated humanely. 6 hours later, they invaded the camp with 2,500 troops and machine-gunned people to death and crushed them under tanks. That is the assertions that we are supposed to believe, in which Martin Kobler, the UNAMI ambassador, apparently now accepts that these people will be treated humanely. So this delegation has warned repeatedly that we are on the brink of a humanitarian catastrophe. The people in Ashraf say they will not be loaded into trucks at gunpoint and taken off to certain death, with many of them then deported back to Iran, where they will be tortured and executed. And yet we are left here with the proposition now that we have to try to find some way to persuade the Iraqi authorities that the road that they are traversing is going to lead to a great divide between the relations between the EU and Iraq if they proceed along this path. They must allow us to have the time and the space for UNHCR to conduct the interviews, to register these people as refugees. This ridiculous deadline of the end of this year has been imposed on a false premise, and has been imposed because the Iraqi government and their Iranian sponsors clearly have no intention of allowing these people to leave peacefully. They actually seem to have a hidden agenda which will ultimately lead to a humanitarian catastrophe. So it's a bleak picture, and I regret very much that we have to discuss such a bleak picture this morning. But again, I'm very grateful to have the expertise of Ambassador De Ruyt. He's just come from a key meeting in that respect, and I have pleasure in giving the Ambassador the floor.
Thank you very much, Struan, and I'm very pleased to be with you here because, as Mr. Stevenson said, it is true that the moment of truth is coming in this very difficult problem of Camp Ashraf, and we are very conscious of that. This is why the High Representative Cathy Ashton asked me to help her, to counsel her on what the European Union could do to help diffuse this tension and manage to come to the most positive outcome as possible. So that's why since now 2.5 months, I made a lot of contacts with all possible people who can play a role or who can help in this process. And I think my appointment was indeed timely, because we are now at the core of the problem, of the debate, and we have to find a solution which would avoid what you just said now to happen. I am in permanent contact with Struan Stevenson, Mr. Higgins, other people, Vidal Quadras, and others. So I can. I know very well your preoccupation, and I'm very conscious of the attention and the very strong commitment that you have for the safety of the people in Camp Ashraf. And obviously, I would like you, I would like very much this negative outcome to be avoided. The only way to really influence the process was, as you just said, to have this process which was started by Mr. Guterres, the High Commissioner for the Refugees. Why was that the only game which could be played? It is because the problem that we have with the people in Camp Ashraf is that if they have to leave the camp, they have to be relocated somewhere or stay in Iraq. And so we were a little sorry also to hear that this process could not start in a concrete way because of the difficulties to find to agree on the logistics, because the logistics of this process is obviously very political. And I was afraid that all this process would be stalled, because the Iraqi government continued to be very clear that it wants to close the camp at the end of this year. But obviously the time was getting too short in order to have a proper relocation of the people. And so that's why I think we have to be careful, we have all of us to be careful to UNAMI and the Special Representative of the UN Secretary General, Mr. Kobler, who had just arrived to Iraq a month ago, I think, to take this problem in hands. And he now is conducting with UNHCR negotiations, very difficult negotiations with the Iraqi government in order to get out of this deadlock, of this very complex situation. They are still continuing to negotiate, and I'm encouraging this negotiation to find the right balance, because obviously the closure of the camp without a process by HCR to identify and organize the refugee status determination of these people would bring to a deadlock, because the proper way, the orderly way to deal with them is obviously first to give them some status so that they can find their way and maybe find countries to welcome them. So this process has to take place, and I hope that the Iraqi government will soon accept that this takes place. We have to be obviously very careful to avoid any perception that they are put in isolation or in jail. These people, I think, have to be dealt with in a UN process, and the UN will be responsible for organizing this process in order to reassure them and to be sure that this process will be organized in an orderly way. The UN has to give some monitoring, has to reinforce its presence close to them. And all that is in negotiation for the moment. So there is no end yet to this negotiation. This is very complicated, but I hope it will bring to a solution. What can the European Union do? We have started a very simple process. I say simple because this is probably one of the only simple solutions in this case, which is the relocation as soon as possible of those people who have the right, in fact, to live in our countries. There is also an appeal from us and from some of the member states of the European Union and third countries for hosting in hospitals those who are severely ill. So this is an operation which can take place very fast without having to go through the HCR process, because these people are not refugees, or if they are refugees, they are already registered as refugees, and that could, I think, diffuse the tension.